evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's regional news. We begin with news from Barbados. Bridgetown has been placed on yet another list coming out of Europe at a time when the country is awaiting the removal of its name from another. Barbados is one of 3 Caribbean countries to be placed on the United Kingdom's list of high-risk third countries when it comes to money laundering and terrorist financing. This comes even as UK officials acknowledge that authorities in Bridgetown have made efforts over the past few years to strengthen anti-money laundering and combating financing of terrorism regimes. However, the move has not caught local officials off guard, as Attorney General Dale Marshall explained that though disappointing, it was not surprising. In early March of this year, while addressing the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados Tax Update Seminar, Kevin Hunt, Director of International Business in the International Business Division, predicted that UK would issue its own list now that it was no longer a part of the European Union. And now for news coming out of the twin islands of Trinidad and Tobago. China's ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Fang Shu, is urging people to follow the science as he seeks to counter misinformation being shared about the Sinopharm vaccine. Some 100,000 doses of the vaccine are expected to arrive in Trinidad and Tobago next Tuesday. In a letter to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, Fang Shu said, I quote, "At this crucial point where science and reason should be leading the way, any kind of politicization and stigmatization of vaccines should be opposed, as this political virus can cost lives just as the COVID-19 virus does, and even worse. At this critical moment where selfless service should be prevailing, any kind of political reckoning out of self-interest should be opposed, as whatever we do, we should do it for the people's greater good," end of quote. This led to the donation of vaccines, which are set to reach Trinidad and Tobago next week. The Chinese ambassador also used the letter to re-emphasize that the Sinopharm vaccine had been cleared by the World Health Organization. We now turn our attention to Brazil. Pfizer Incorporated repeatedly offered to sell its COVID-19 vaccine to Brazil's health ministry between August and November last year, but got no answer from the government, Pfizer's chief executive for Latin America told lawmakers on Thursday. A Senate commission is investigating whether President Jair Bolsonaro's government mishandled the pandemic by failing to secure vaccines in time to curb a surge that has killed more than 430 Brazilians, the worst COVID-19 death toll outside the United States. The Brazilian government eventually negotiated with Pfizer for 100 million doses in a contract signed in March, with the first 1 million doses arriving in late April. Murillo said Pfizer is about to sign a contract for 100 million more doses for delivery to Brazil for the 4th quarter. And finally, in a major step towards returning to pre-pandemic life, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) eased mask wearing guidance for fully vaccinated people on Thursday, allowing them to stop wearing masks outdoors in crowds and in most indoor settings. The guidance still calls for wearing masks in crowded indoor settings like buses, planes, hospitals, prisons, and homeless shelters, but it will help clear the way for reopening of workplaces, schools, and other venues, even removing the need for social distancing for those who are fully vaccinated. The CDC and the Biden administration have faced pressure to ease restrictions on fully vaccinated people, those who are 2 weeks past their last required COVID-19 vaccine dose, in part to highlight the benefits of getting the shot. The country's aggressive vaccination campaign has paid off. U.S. virus cases are at their lowest rate since September. Deaths are at their lowest point since last April, and the test positivity rate is at the lowest point since the pandemic began. And that is all for your regional news. Thank you for joining.